The EastSide Chapter 13. Happy birthday, Slim! Teddy yelled out, leaping his heavy body on top of me while I was lying in bed. His enormous weight abruptly woke me up as I gave him a look of annoyance. I quickly turned my body toward the wall, placing the cover over my head to try and fall back asleep. But Teddy would not let me slumber. He just began to shake the bed side to side, screaming, Earthquake! What is your problem? I yelled out in anger as he continued to smile at me. Come on, birthday boy. Wake your lazy ass up. I called all the boys and we're going to throw you a birthday bash, punk, Teddy explained. I almost forgot that it was my birthday. Between working at Rich's garage and staying a couple of nights at Teddy's mom's house, it must have slipped my mind. Teddy was such a good friend that he always remembered. I was sleeping in Teddy's older brother's room because he left for college, and it was vacant. I reluctantly removed my body from the bed unenthusiastically about getting off of the comfortable mattress. Okay, up. Let me just brush my teeth and take a shower, I said, standing to my feet. Alright, bruh. I'm gonna be downstairs in the kitchen cooking some breakfast. See you down there, Teddy informed before leaving the upstairs bedroom and climbing down the staircase. I was not too excited about my birthday. I was never really excited about getting older, and after my mother died, and because our birthdays were so close together, it had not been a happy time for me for a few years now. I stared into the mirror as I brushed my teeth, looking at my right eye that was starting to heal from the fight me and my father had a few nights prior. I hadn't spoken to him since then. I liked staying at Teddy's place, but I missed home and Lily. Once I finished showering and got dressed, I went downstairs to meet Teddy. To my surprise, Freddie, Craig, Andrew, and Danny were sitting there by the kitchen table, devouring Teddy's newly created breakfast. They all were so involved in their meals that they did not even notice I entered the room. What are y'all doing here? I called out to get their attention before the entire group erupted, saying, Happy birthday! Among other things, all at the same time, which sounded like noise. All right, one at a time, damn. Where's my plate, Teddy? On the table. And that is Mr. Chef to you, he responded jokingly as I rolled my eyes at his comment, searching for my plate of food. I sat down and started immediately devouring the delicious breakfast that Teddy was starting to become well known for. We all started talking and discussing our plans for the day since we all were free on Saturdays. We had the whole day with each other. I got an idea. Let's go paintballing today, Teddy said, and they all agreed except me. To be honest, guys, I'd rather we just hang out at my apartment, have some drinks, play some music, and eat some food. I'm not picky. I just want to hang out with my boys. I suggested. Sound good to me, Craig added. Me too, said the rest of the group as they finished with their breakfast. Cool, I'll cook while Danny and Andrew get some drinks and Craig get the stereo so we can get some music going, Teddy planned out loud. Okay, I can get my cousin to buy some bottles for us, Danny agreed. What about your dad? Teddy asked while grabbing all the empty plates from the kitchen table and placing them into a dishwasher. It's my mother's birthday in a few days, so he's probably gonna go visit her tomb and my grandparents. He should be gone all day, I responded. It's official, cut. Let's meet at Jahvon around noon, Craig said while removing himself from the chair he was sitting on and reaching into his pocket to find his keys. Cool, Danny said as we all removed ourselves from the dinner table and went off to do our assignments for the day. Around noon, we all met up again at my apartment to celebrate my 20th birthday. Teddy even baked a cheesecake, which he knew was my favorite, and wrote in strawberry cream, Happy birthday, Jahvon, on top of it. Craig brought over his big loudspeakers that were not damaged from the fire and connected it to his MP3 player, which played so loud that the entire neighborhood could hear it. It was such a nice, cool day outside. The sun was shining and the weather was warm with a nice breeze from the opposing winds. All the neighbors were outside as well, barbecuing and drinking beers around their homes, socializing. Danny and Andrew were the last to get to the old apartment with 3 bottles of rum and fruit juice, while Teddy stayed inside for a moment trying to finish the chicken pasta he was preparing. Freddie brought chips, dips, and pretzels, and we ate them outside, sitting on the staircase, talking and laughing. I brought out some playing cards from inside my room so we could play spades while sitting on the stairs around each other. I was enjoying my birthday tremendously. With all of my friends with me, it kept my mind away from all the drama that had been happening in my life lately. And it made me feel like all of my problems were finally over with. That was not the case at all. The boys and my attention were so attuned to the card game that we did not realize the hourglass figure approaching the stairway. Happy birthday, sweetie, said a familiar voice that made all of our heads lift up to see Shantae standing in front of us, holding on to a medium sized box covered in wrapping paper. She wore very low cut shorts that exposed her thick, athletic thighs and her large, round butt, and had a big smile on her face. We all looked at her in surprise. Shantae, what are you doing here? I asked, confused by her presence. I came to see you, silly. I wanted to surprise you, she responded, walking up the stairs as we all got up to allow her a passageway. Well, you sure did that, I said as she approached me and kissed me on my cheek. I'm gonna go put your present in your room, okay, honey? She said, walking up the stairs into the apartment while the guy stood there, staring at her bottom. Okay, I responded. Whoa, you and Shantae back together? Danny asked. Hell no, I said without hesitation. We are just not avoiding each other anymore. Well, if you don't want her anymore, let me know, cuz. I would love to put some of that white boy in her, Craig said with a large smile, which made the rest of the fellas laugh. You guys are crazy. Let's finish the game, I suggested as we went back to our seats to finish playing our concentrated card game. Teddy walked outside to join us and sat on the edge of the stairway and passed all of us some cups with juice and rum in it. This tastes good, Andrew remarked as we all nodded our heads in agreement. This was becoming a great day as we enjoyed our evening, playing cards and drinking our liquor. We were so joyful that we did not pay attention to the loud bass coming from the familiar red Chevy Camaro pulling up into the parking lot. The car stopped, and 5 Hispanic men calmly vacated the vehicle and walked toward my apartment smoothly, as if they were invited to the party. Teddy suddenly looked up and saw the men approaching. He quickly stood to his feet and exclaimed, You have to be kidding me. Teddy's loud statement made the rest of us lift our heads up to see Christian and his goons that had beat me up that night at Janelle's party slowly approaching our location. The rest of my friends rose to their feet as I quickly rushed inside the apartment into my bedroom and grabbed my gun from my top dresser drawer and quickly dashed back outside. I rushed past my friends down the stairs and walked up directly to the Hispanic men while holding onto the gun in my right hand as my friends joined behind me. You have a lot of balls showing your face, Poppy, I exclaimed angrily, staring into Christian's eyes. Yes, I know I do, Beast, he said calmly, removing his expensive sunglasses from his face and placing them into his right jacket pocket. So, you and your friends came to commit suicide? I asked, still keeping eye contact with the young Hispanic man. He looked back into my eyes, unwavering and with no fear, and said smugly, You couldn't kill a bug under your dirty ass shoes. Oh, yeah? I exclaimed, even more irate than before, placing the 9mm handgun against Christian's chest. which made his entourage react by each one of them pulling out a handgun of their own and pointing it directly at me. Craig pulled out his handgun as well, while the rest of my friends stood there brave and not showing fear, except for Freddy, who looked nervously at all the guns being exposed. Mis amigos, relájase, no te preocupes, Christian calmly said to his friends, still looking into my eyes while calmly taking his hand and pushing the gun in my hand slowly away from his chest. Let's all put our guns away before someone shoots themselves. I'm not here for violence today. I'm here for my woman. Where is she? His friends put their guns back into their pockets as Craig and I did the same. I looked at him confused by his question. I don't know. I haven't spoken to her in months. She's not here, I responded. He stared into my eyes carefully to determine if I was actually telling him the truth as I stared back at him, wearing a serious look on my face. Are you lying to me, Beast? He asked again. Does it look like I'm lying? You said she was with you now. I haven't talked to her since then, I answered. He nodded his head, knowing that I was telling the truth by my demeanor. Okay, fine. But since I'm already here, I have a proposition for you and your friends. Obviously, I don't like you, and you don't like. No shit, I interrupted. He cleared his throat, feeling disrespected by the interruption to his sentence. Anyway, you don't like me, and I don't like you. And this East Side versus West Side, Beast versus Poppy thing is getting out of control, he continued. I agree. I say we end this thing once and for all. Instead of this back and forth talking and property damage, let's let our fists do the talking. How about a rumble? A rumble? Yeah, me and five of my boys versus you and five of your boys. We can meet at the downtown park, which will be neutral territory. No tricks and no underhanded schemes. Just fists on fists to see who the best side really is, he stated as I nodded my head, absorbing the proposal. The last man standing wins. Or, if you boys decide to give up and beg for mercy, we'll take that too. You wish, you little leprechaun, Teddy yelled out, annoyed by Christian's statement. What's the rules? I asked, crossing my arms. No rules, except no weapons, just fist against fist. Whoever the loser is has to never step foot in the other side of town again, completely remove themselves from the feud, and wins Janelle forever, Christian said, winking at me with his right eye. I pondered for a moment while looking at my friends as they looked at each other. This was our opportunity to get back at the Poppies and finally end this feud forever. Plus, end Christian's relationship with Janelle. I had no choice. You and your putas have a deal, I said as my friends nodded in agreement. Christian gave us all a smirk, and before turning around to travel back to his car, said, Good. I can't wait to finally get your ass out of my life for good. In 2 days, at 11 p.m., we will have our rumble. And remember, no weapons. See you there if you don't chicken out. His arrogance enraged me. I hated everything about him, the way he walked, how he spoke, and his general attitude toward us. I wanted to bring his enormous ego down to size and just embarrass him for all the pain he had caused me and my friends. I stood in my same position as he and his friends got closer to his fire red car, and my friends began to walk back toward the stairs. I asked loudly and abruptly to the Hispanic crew, Do you bitches have a spare tire? My random question made the Spanish men turn around quickly as Christian looked at me confused and asked, "What the hell does that have to do with?" He was quickly interrupted by a quick gunshot I let off from my recently used handgun in my hand. My aim was perfect as I aimed for his front tire, which flattened instantly. The random shot startled everyone around, especially Christian, who became extremely irate at the damage I had done to his good looking vehicle. "I'm gonna kill you!" he yelled out, trying to pull his gun from his back pocket, but was quickly stopped by one of his friends who grabbed his arm. "You can't. Remember what the boss said," the one named Eric warned, which confused me because I always thought Christian was the boss of their crew. Christian quickly put his gun back into his pocket and stared at me with an evil look, full of hate, as I stared back at him with the same expression. The Latin men became even angrier as Teddy began to laugh loudly at my actions, pointing at the men. The loud shot made everybody in the neighborhood come out of their apartments. Everybody saw the group of Hispanic men standing there in the middle of the parking lot. "Hurry up and just change the tire," Christian said to the one named Eric as he rushed to the trunk to grab a spare. "Is everything okay? I heard a gunshot," I heard Shantae yell out as she quickly came outside my apartment. "Yes," I responded, still in a staring contest with Christian, which neither of us were willing to lose. "Are those poppies in the east side?" I heard one of my neighbors say as more and more of them came rushing outside. In moments, the parking lot was flooded with people as they began to surround the red car, which made the four men nervous as they quickly tried to replace the back tire, except for Christian, who was too busy looking at me. "Oh, hell no! Poppy's out here? Let's beat them down!" yelled little Donovan, riding his skateboard over to the large crowd who were getting closer and closer to the poppies, which still did not affect Christian's demeanor, but made his friends frantic. "No!" I yelled out, staring at Christian, putting my hands up toward the crowd. "Leave these ones for us. We have unfinished business, which we will be taking care of soon enough." "Are you sure, Jahvon? We can take care of them right now, once and for all," Donovan questioned. "Yes, this one is mine," I yelled out sternly. The crowd looked at me and nodded in respect to my decision, but still surrounded the Spanish men, taunting them with threats and derogatory statements. Christian's friends finally fixed the tire, as the one named Loco tapped Christian on the shoulder to indicate that it was time for them to leave. Christian walked backwards toward the car, still keeping eye contact with me, and finally got into the driver's seat to leave the place that they weren't wanted. As the boys were leaving, the neighbors threw rocks and other items at the car, which broke the back window and dented the flawless exterior of the car. I knew this infuriated Christian. The crowd cheered as the men drove away, feeling accomplished for damaging the hot red colored Camaro. Teddy walked over next to me and placed his left hand on my shoulder, giggling, and stated to me, "You're crazy, Jahvon. When the hell did you get a gun?" "I got it a little bit ago, for protection," I answered him as a group of people started returning to their apartments, discussing what had just taken place. "I hope you know what you're doing, buddy," Teddy said while looking up in the sky. "Clouds are getting dark. Looks like it's gonna rain." I shrugged my shoulders as we both turned around to walk back to my apartment. We spent the rest of the day in the house playing cards and drinking, before eating Teddy's delicious dinner and watching TV inside. The day turned into night as I looked outside the window in the kitchen, watching the light drizzle of rain crash against the hard, clear glass. The rest of my friends were all fatigued by the long day and were resting in the living room, watching a movie, while I stood there in the kitchen thinking about my mother and about her birthday that was in 2 days, wishing to myself that she was still here to help celebrate mine. We used to have big family parties when I was younger to celebrate both our birthdays. Those were the best memories I've ever had, especially when we would have a mother and son dance, which was our tradition every year before she died. The tradition started when I was 4 years old, and I would stand on her feet as we danced together. That always made her happy. And Javon, are you okay, baby? Shantae said softly, wrapping her hands around me from behind, interrupting my thoughts. I'm fine, I answered, just thinking. Anything I can do to help? She said flirtatiously, softly kissing the back of my neck, trying to turn me on. I slowly turned around toward her, feeling exhausted by restraining myself from her incessant advances toward me. I began to lean in as she started to lean toward me to try and kiss me, but we were interrupted by a loud knock on the door. I carefully pushed Shantae away from my body and began to walk toward the door suspiciously, wondering if the poppies had come back for revenge. I grabbed my gun from my pocket and slowly reached for the doorknob. I cautiously opened the door and was in complete shock at who was on the other end of it. My mouth opened wide as I spoke in astonishment. Janelle? I asked, confused. What are you doing here? She looked cold from the rain as she stood there in front of my door, clenching onto her leather jacket tightly. Her face was pale, with no makeup, and her hair was frizzy from the lack of being combed, as the expression on her face was of someone nervous and fearful. Javon, I need to talk to you, she said as her voice trembled. This bitch again? Shantae yelled out, stomping toward the door and trying to reach for Janelle as my body blocked her. I told you not to come around here again. Move, Javon. I'm tired of these mommies and poppies. Stop, I called out to Shantae. Let me talk to her for a second. Just go back into the living room. Are you serious right now? Shantae asked, astonished by my decision. Yes, I responded quickly. Whatever, Jay, she said angrily, walking back into the living room. What are you doing here? I repeated my question. Can we talk for a moment outside? Janelle asked, still nervous about seeing me again. Sure, I said, walking out of the door and closing it behind me. We walked downstairs to the bottom of the staircase as I looked at her suspiciously. She looked back at me with sadness in her eyes and barely could look at me in mine, as if she was ashamed for coming to my apartment. So, what was so important that you can't go to the Rumble in 2 days, Jay? She blurted out, interrupting me. What? How do you know about that? I asked quickly. I overheard Eric and Christian talking about it today. Jay, there's something you don't know. She started saying frantically. Wait a minute. Christian and Jasmine said that you were missing and that they couldn't find you. I interrupted, still looking at her suspiciously. Yes, I know. I ran away. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to leave. I packed my stuff a couple of days ago, and I've been living in a hotel for the last week. I couldn't stay at Jasmine's house because I knew Christian would find me there. So I found a place that he wouldn't look. But Jay, you have to listen to me. But how did you hear about the Rumble? I interrupted again, crossing my arms. I snuck in the house to get some more things, and Eric and Christian were in Eunice's room talking about it. They said that they're planning to kill you at the Rumble. You can't go, she warned. We all agreed no weapon, I reassured her. You can't trust Christian. He's a snake. They are planning to kill you as soon as you show your face. I don't want you to die, she said as her voice trembled while tears began emerging from her eyes. Why do you care all of a sudden? I asked as the rain began to pick up speed. I've always cared, Jay. I know I must have hurt you, but. Hurt me? I yelled out in emotional passion. You took my heart out of my chest and slammed it into the ground. You more than hurt me, Yah. You don't understand, Jay. I had no choice. Christian threatened me and said if I did not stop seeing you, he would come to your apartment and kill you. He knew exactly where you lived and was having people follow me everywhere. He even put a gun to my head. I was so scared that I did not know what to do. And I couldn't live with myself if I found out you had died because of me. Don't you see? I was doing it to keep you safe. After he almost killed you the first time, I promised I would never let that happen to you again. I'm sorry, Jay. It was the only way. Bullshit! I yelled out, still emotional. You could have told me. We could have figured something out. Or even run away together. You would have done that for me? For us? She said, surprised by my statement. Yes, but instead, you let me run around, not knowing what was going on, and killing me slowly every single day since you left my apartment. You had me blaming myself, feeling worthless and confused. I'm sorry, Jay. It's too late for sorries, I said sternly as the rain started to come down on us harder and faster. I don't care what happens. I'm not letting those poppies get away with this. I'm going to that rumble. No, please! Janelle screamed out as I noticed all of my friends and Shantae standing outside the apartment, watching us. Our loud voices must have attracted them outside, I thought to myself. You can't go. I won't be able to take it if you died. I'm already dead, I said in a serious voice. She looked at me in emotional anguish, hoping that she could change my mind and help me listen to reason. She approached me to get closer to my body as our bodies both started to become drenched by the rain falling from the sky. I can't take back the past, but I can only try and fix the future. Christian is evil. I know he will try and kill you before he would watch us be together, but he does not even care about me. He just thinks of me as his property. The day I left, I caught him in bed with Eunice. So I know he's been cheating on me, but he won't let me go. I felt trapped, so I had to leave, and I wanted so bad to come see you, but I knew he would search for me here. So I did not want to risk it. Is that what this is all about? Revenge on Christian and your slutty cousin? I asked, angered by the thought, taking a step back away from her, still not believing that her feelings toward me were true anymore. I just couldn't allow myself to be deceived by love again. The pain was too great. Is that the reason you're here now? So you can feel better about your decision? No, she said, frustrated by my statement. I don't care about Christian. I care about you. I came to warn you. You have to listen. No, you have to listen. I yelled out, even more emotional than before. You made your decision. So you have to live with it now. I will never feel like I did that night under your windowsill ever again. I have never been so embarrassed, angry, hurt, and sad at the same time in my life. And for him, all for him. Say what you want, but you made your decision because of him, not because of me. You're the one who's scared of him. I'm not. I'm not scared of him. He can come see me right now. You left me all alone when I needed you the most. After he put me in the hospital, you went back to him? All you had to do was tell me. But your fear for him was stronger than your love for me. You cowered out. And you did not trust me to handle things. And that was your mistake. And messing with me was the boppies. She watched me struggle not to break down into tears as I spoke to her with such fury. My strong words were affecting her as much as myself, as I could feel tears emerging from my eyes as well. All of a sudden, we both realized that I was not truly angry at her. I was sad. Her leaving me had left a scar so deep that it was close to be unfixable. I clenched my chest while looking up into the dark, cloudy sky as the rain washed my face and dripped all over my body. Deep down, truly, I did love her, but the thought of her leaving me for my arch nemesis filled me up with so much discontent that I couldn't let myself forgive her. The person we both loved the most was the one person that pained us the most. Janelle began to walk closer to me to try and find what was left of a little bit of compassion and love I had for her as I began to walk backward to try and avoid her advance. Stop, she requested as her voice cracked from the heavy emotion weighing on her heart. The pain in her voice made me come to a complete halt as I stood there like a statue, with my hands by my side, looking at the devastated expression on her face. She slowly raised her arms to try to give me a hug, but I quickly removed them. She was persistent and tried again, each time looking at me more hurt than the previous attempt. Finally, she tried again and wrapped her arms around my body and laid her head on my chest as my arms stayed by my side. Her embrace felt like something I had been yearning for a long time. Her perfume smelled so intoxicating, and the vibes coming from her body were so strong that I knew the feelings coming from her were undeniable. I tried to fight the feelings of hugging her back, but the warmth of her love was beginning to melt my frozen heart. My arms felt like resisting 1,000 pounds of force trying to keep them by my waist. I could feel them slowly lifting up to wrap around her. They crept up slowly, beginning to embrace her soaked body, but the reminder of being deceived and toyed with and the pain refused to let me give in, which made me quickly grab her by her shoulders and slowly removing her body from mine. She looked at me as if she was in excruciating pain, as her final attempt did not persuade me to show affection to her. I'm sorry, Janelle. It's over between us. Goodbye, I said with sadness in my voice as I began to turn around to walk back upstairs to my apartment. No, Jahvon, wait! She called out to me as her voice continued to tremble and tears poured down her cheek. But I love you! I stopped as the rain started to make my clothes heavy from all the saturation. Turning back to her, and I lied harshly. Well, I don't love you. I could tell my words were like a dagger being shoved into the young girl's heart. They instantly broke it into a million pieces as she stared at me in shock. I ran up the stairs, passing by my friends and Shantae. They were all sad at what they just witnessed. Janelle just stood there in the rain, watching me leave, and crying so loud that I could hear her from inside. I stood in the kitchen while grabbing one of the liquor bottles, pressing the nozzle against my mouth, and began swallowing. Her cries became louder as every outburst from her voice sounded like 1,000 kittens being tortured, which made me feel more like a terrible person and depressed me instantly. I overheard Teddy telling the young weeping girl that he would take her home. He placed his jacket over her as they walked toward his car. She kept repeating, I'm sorry, Teddy. I'm sorry, while crying until her voice became so faint that I couldn't hear it anymore. I rested my left hand on the table and my right hand on the neck of the bottle while looking at the tablecloth with a million thoughts running through my mind. Danny walked into the kitchen and asked, Jay, are you okay? I'm fine, I responded softly while staring at the off white tablecloth. Are you sure? He asked again. His questioning irritated me and made me outburst violently by throwing the liquor bottle against the wall, breaking it, and screaming, I'm peachy! Happy freaking birthday to me! Life is just grand! Is that what you want to hear? Damn it! I just want to be alone right now. Jay, man, I understand, he said, trying to relate to my pain, but in vain. Yeah, everybody understands. Everybody gets it. But nobody understands that I just want to be alone right now? I interrupted sharply. But get out! Everybody out! I yelled out, pointing my finger toward the outside as I stomped toward the door and ended up on top of the stairs where my friend stood. Everybody go home! Party's over! Upset by my outburst, my friends started to walk away in the rain to return to their home, except for Shantae, who just stood there looking at me confused. That means everybody, I said to her with an attitude. I thought you and that Spanish girl had nothing going on, she inquired about our argument. We don't. I just want to be alone right now, so please, just go, I ordered. But now, I interrupted. Fine, Jay. You know, you can be a real bastard sometimes. I don't care anymore. Go deal with your Spanish slut. Just know you ain't ever gonna have any of this again, Shantae said with an attitude, feeling on her body to indicate that I wouldn't touch it again. Good, I said, still pointing toward the downstairs. She had a shocked look on her face and began to roll her eyes while mumbling under her breath, grabbing her coat and leaving in the rain as well. I slammed the door behind her and just sat on the floor in the kitchen. At that moment, the world felt like it was spinning from the dizziness I felt from the alcohol mixed with my anger and my sadness. I just felt lost. I used to never behave like this. My friends had come to spend time with me on my birthday, and I had just kicked them out like tenants who hadn't paid their rent. Maybe I am a bastard, I thought to myself. Maybe Shantae is right, because I'm acting so rebellious to the world that I'm hurting the people that I love the most. I just became so overwhelmed by seeing Janelle because I knew I still had feelings for her. I still loved her, but I hated her at the same time for hurting me. I guess now I know what people mean when they say there is a thin line between love and hate. I sat on the floor for a while, just contemplating my life, when suddenly my father walked in through the front door into the kitchen. I looked at him and sighed, thinking that I did not want any more problems tonight. He just stared at me with a look that was not angry but concerned. He took off his tie and sat down on the floor next to me and said, I know that look. I've worn it many times in my life. Looks like you had a bad birthday. What do you care? I asked, still angry. I'm sorry, son, about the way I acted the other night in my drunken rage. And now I feel like I passed the way I act onto you. I left Lily at Pop's house today so I could go look for you and apologize. I've been doing a lot of thinking. You were right. I do drink too much. My attitude toward you has not been fair at all. I've been a loser my whole life, and I guess I tried pushing you because I wanted you to be better than me, not living in some raggedy apartment, but in a nice house. I've not been a good father to you or Lily, Jahvon, my father declared as I looked at him, astonished by his speech, and I definitely was not a good husband to your mother. I just always felt like she never really loved me. She just was with me because of you and wanted to stay with me because she was pregnant. I guess I always resented her and you for that. When she died, I felt so guilty that I did not try to make things better when she was alive. So I took up drinking so I wouldn't feel the pain anymore. I don't want you to be like me, Jahvon. Just angry all the time and drinking. You're better than me. You always have been. Don't take my path. Forgive your enemies and make peace with your demons because day by day, it will change you. Before you know it, you will end up becoming someone you never thought you'd be. I'm giving up drinking completely, and I want to work on our relationship. I want to apologize about that Spanish girl. I shouldn't be telling you who to date. You're old enough to make your own decision. I just want them to be the right ones. The night I drove her home, I could tell she really liked you. She held your hand the whole way there. I never had a moment like that with your mother. And I always wanted her to look at me like that young girl looked at you. Son, it's inspiring. Listen, I truly am sorry. I am truly willing to try and have a better relationship with you if you're willing to forgive me. I looked at him for a moment to determine if he was sincere with his statements, which he looked like he was. I just grinned at him and nodded my head as he put his arm around my shoulder, happy and excited by my decision. Tomorrow, the neighborhood is going to have a short celebration for your mother at the church, and I think we both could use some good words if you want to go with me, what Dad suggested. I just shrugged my shoulders and nodded my head yes. Good. I love you, son, he said, kissing me on my cheek. I love you too, Dad, I said with a smile on my face. If your mother was still alive, she would have been so proud of the man that you are becoming, he said, raising himself from the floor. I just looked down, ashamed, because I wasn't sure if that statement was true. I contemplated on how she would have felt if she'd known I had a gun in my jeans, if she'd seen the way I had treated my friends tonight, or if she knew I was working for Juice. Would she still be proud of me? I remained on the kitchen floor when my father went into his room. I could feel one single tear leave from my eye and slowly creep down my cheek.